Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my second project that I made in September for Country Craft Creations using Simple Stories Happy Trails paper collection. So I decided to go ahead and make a little trunk or fishing tackle box travel case. Let me zoom out here for you. Here on the top we have the little handle made out of the artisan cardstock and some of the pattern paper. I added some of the red baker's or button twine, some of the brown Hug Snug seam binding ribbon that you can order from Country Craft Creations, cut apart, some of the chipboard pieces of the flowers, some brads here to hold the handle. This little cut apart, I have some of the black gemstones here, and also on the handle here on the flower. And then I tied in on this, I tied in some actual fishing lures. You do want to make sure if you use this that you pull out or cut off all of the barbs, all of the hooks. So you just want the little decorative part here, and I just love how that turned out. Got the little metal spoon, and so we've got some different ones here on this. I put the chipboard, the Happy Trails chipboard here on the bottom out of artisan cardstock, and the pattern paper I made the closure piece, the wraparound, and here on the back I added more of these little gemstones. So got some stuck on that one. And then I made the hinges out of cardstock and pattern paper. So it's held closed with these little pulls here that just lift up. It's held by magnets, so you can either push it up this way or you can actually lift down here and pull up. So inside we have two pockets here. They're accordion type pockets, so you can put a lot of stuff in there. Let me see if I can show you down in there. So I have some photo mats that I made and a tag for each side, so that just sticks in there. So I'm over here. You see the photo mats and the little tag. And I decorated these pockets up with cut apart, some of the button twine, and some of the chipboard elements. And of course inside here will hold one of the folio albums that I made earlier in September as my first project. So either one, this one I'm going to keep in this one because it's more for fishing, camping and fishing. So both won't fit in there, but you can make a box for one. So here in the bottom I patterned the sides, of course, and then I added one of the cut aparts that says hook, line, and sinker. And so I really love how that turned out. It's really simple to make, and I do have a tutorial for this, so stay tuned. To make our little tackle box or case for our little camping or fishing albums or folios, we need to cut medium chipboard, and you want two pieces that are 7.5 by 5.5. Got those two. One's for the lid, one's for the base. You need two that are 7.5 by 2 inches, and then you need two that are 5.5 by 1. No, two that are 5.5 by 2. Sorry. And then with this other base or lid piece, you need two that are 7.5 by 2, and two that are 5.5 by 2. So that's the basic pieces you need of the chipboard. And then from cardstock, I have cut two 12-inch by 3 and one 6-inch by 3. That goes with this one over here. Then you need two 12-inch by 2s and one 6-inch by 2. And then for the lid pieces, the main pieces, I cut four 7.5 by 5.5. So I'm not going to wrap those. So let's set these aside. This goes with this. Let's set these pieces aside. Okay, and we're going to put these together. Let's do the lid first. You need a lot of room here. I'm not going to be able to show it to you all in camera. I'm going to pull out some if I can. That's most I've got. So you're going to take your cardstock pieces and your glue and just put a thin line on one end of one of these 12-inch pieces. And I take another 12-inch piece, and you're just going to line them up. We're going to make one long piece out of two 12 inches and one 6. So you slide this over, and you're going to put glue on the end of this one. Whoops, not that much glue. Get a wipe here real quick. New bottle always comes out thinner at first of glue, so make sure I clean my table off there. So let's do a thinner line. Here we go. And let's attach these together. So we have this one piece done. So this is for the 1-inch chipboard pieces. So let's go ahead and put this strip together as well. So we have one of the 12-inch long by 3-inch pieces. So we're going to put the glue right here on the edge. Try to control that a little better. Place this down. You've got plenty of extra, so if you do about a 1/4 inch over that, that's fine. Just want to make sure they're straight. Okay, turn it over, wipe that off and burnish. And then we're going to go ahead and put the shorter piece here on the end. And so this will be for our wider chipboard pieces, for us to make a top and a bottom for our little box or tackle box or storage box for our little camping fishing albums. So go ahead and burnish that down. Okay, set this one aside. So we're going to work on this one first. So I'm going to take a longer piece, and I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch on the end. So I'm just going to use my ruler, and you want about a 1/2 inch on the top or the bottom. So I'm just going to put glue on one side of this chipboard, and I see that I'm almost out of frame, so I'm going to put this down and then I'll move it up. So I'm using my ruler as my placement guide to keep it straight and burnish that down. So I'm going to slide this up a little bit, move my drink cup out of the way so it can slide up, so you can only see that part which I'm working on. So I'm going to burnish this down and let this dry. And so I had to look for my 1/8 inch score tape. So if you have an 1/8 inch, this is a great way to get your space in there. If not, just eyeball it or use your ruler to get an 1/8 inch. We do not want a full 1/4 inch spacing here. We just want a little bit. So I'm putting this piece of tape right here up against the end of the chipboard. And then I'm going to take, this is the longer one, the 7.5, then I'm going to take the 5.5. And I need my ruler here to make sure that everything's going to go on straight. So you glue the next one down. So I'm starting out with the 7.5, then I add the 5.5, and then another 7.5, and then end with a 5.5. So I'm putting this up against that. Gotta make sure it's straight. Right here, wipe off this excess glue. Okay, right there, there's a little bit more tape. I'm gonna slide this down so that it is in camera view. Oops, don't want that much on there. Get my score tape. I have a pair of scissors that I just use for score tape because it gets really sticky, and then I'll clean them every few weeks or so. So now we need the long one again, the 7.5. This 1-inch tall chipboard is for the lid. sure it didn't slide. There we go. One more piece of the score tape. And then the last short one. Now you will notice that in placing these, make sure that the join lines are not in a fold line. The fold line is where the score tape is. So you want to be sure that you make sure you don't put it this fold. You don't want it like that, because then it wouldn't lay down right. So you're going to make sure that seam line is within the main part of a chipboard piece. So we're going to put this one in like that. Now you'll notice that you have a little extra down here on the end, and that's fine. You want a 1/2 inch, so I'm just going to take my ruler and a marker, mark my 1/2 inch, and then you can just take your scissors or trimmer or whatever you want, and a knife if you're using a mat underneath, and just cut that off. Okay, so this is the box lid piece. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one the exact same way, and I'm not going to do it on camera. That will save me some video editing time, but it's going to be the same way. So you want your longer ones, your short one, your longer one, and then a short one. So this is the exact same size, so you just put it on the same way, a 1/2 inch from the end, 1/2 inch from the top and the bottom. Okay, for your lid and box base, the main pieces, I have taken the cardstock that I cut 4 pieces, 5.5 by 7.5, glued one to each side. I've done it on this one, but not the back side, so I'm going to go ahead and show you gluing one on real quick. And it's cut the same size as our chipboard, so we're just not wrapping that because that would just add extra bulk on the edges. So I want this to be finished so that when I put my pattern paper on it, if I want to leave a little margin, I can. So I'm just going to burnish that like that and set these aside. So these are finished. You don't have to worry about the edges or anything because they're not going to show. So I'm going to set these aside for now, and let's get back to these base pieces here, or side pieces. So this is your 3-inch tall, and I've gone ahead and folded up my 1/2 inch sides here and burnished them like this all the way down the whole length. And then what we're going to do, we're only going to wrap or fold over one long edge. We don't want to do the bottom. So if you want to use score tape or your glue, that is up to you what you want to use. I think I'm going to use score tape because this is a really long piece and it just makes it easier to wrap it, get it to attach down. Let's see here. Is this my 3/8 or my 1/2 inch? I think this is 3/8. I don't usually use 1/2 inch. Yes. So I have 3/8 inch tape to use on this 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to attach it along the length of this cardstock all the way down, just on this top edge only for now. Burnish that down. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull out these little spacers, just the tape backing. Peel that off and peel that off. So you have 3 of those. Okay. And then go ahead and peel off this top piece. And we're going to pull this over and attach it down all along the whole length. And you're going to want to burnish this to make sure it sticks down. So burnish it really good on those seams. And then you're going to want to burnish in here where it attaches down into that little space there. As you see, this is where this is going to come together like this to create our base. And then next we're going to cut, get my other scissors, we're going to cut just an angle in here. Kind of cut out a V between each fold, just up to the fold line. Just like you would maybe for a pocket. So we've cut out those V's. That's going to help it come together a little bit easier and not have any bulk in there. And I'm going to fold this. This is what I'm going to use, and if it overextends any, just when you fold it, just trim that off. So I'm going to, whoops, I think I'm just going to trim this off at an angle right here, at the top, just to get rid of any extra bulk maybe in here, like that. Okay, so you're going to fold these because these are going to be what attached together. So I'm burnishing right there on the end to get the good fold. The other side as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pattern the inside of this piece. I've already cut my papers. So you need two that are 7.5 long and two that are 5.5. I didn't make them as wide because I do want a little bit of this craft showing at the top here. So these are, instead of 3-inch, they're 2 7/8 on all of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink these. I'm using again the Color Philosophy Chocolate Brown. This is what I used on the albums. So I'm just going to ink these edges. Especially the top. You want to make sure you get the top one inked. But I'm just inking all 4 edges real quick. Okay, so we're ready to glue this down because it is easier. Now, I'm going to look at this. One of my short pieces, I am not ready to pattern. So we're going to set one aside. So let's go ahead and do the long ones. I'm just going to use glue, and we're going to glue these in. So you can go ahead and pattern 3 of the inside sections, and then wait on the other one until the box is assembled. So pay attention to your direction, and I'm bringing it all the way down to the bottom here. So you have about 1/8 of an inch of the craft showing at the top. Come off camera like that. So you're going to go ahead and put 3 down and save the other for later. So I'm just using the glue. This exactly fits this piece. Bring it all the way down so that you have the same amount of margin up at the top. Burnish. And one more for this one. Okay, so this one is patterned on the inside. We're going to be also doing the outside. Except for one side, so we'll do that after it's assembled. But I'm going to go ahead now and stop the camera, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for this one. I'll do that off camera again to save some editing time on the video. I'm just going to wrap one edge and then pattern the inside. We have both pieces patterned for the inside. Remember, you do not pattern this end piece yet till we assemble it. So what we're going to do, we're going to flip this over and we're going to pattern the outside except for the one that's undone on the end. So I've cut two that are 7 3/8 by 1 7/8 and two that are 5 3/8 by 1 7/8. This is for the outside here. So we're going to glue this on. Remember, all these pattern papers are from the Simple Stories collection called Happy Trails that you can order from Country Craft Creations. And I did ink all the edges. Looks like I might have missed this one a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to line this up. And it's going to be about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, all edges. Let's see here from the ends. Here and here. I'm going to burnish that on. Let's get this over. So this is this one piece. Remember, we're going to save this one. I'm not going to attach it. Set this aside. We're ready to flip this over. Start on this end with this. These are all cut to 7/8 of an inch high. Pay attention to the directions of your paper. You have two that are 7 3/8 and two that are 5 3/8. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these down as well. Okay, so we saved this one as well. Now we're ready to assemble these. They're going to come together like this. Cut this little piece here off. And I'm wrapping this unfinished edge. So I'm just going to use glue on this. So what I did is angle cut and bring this to the inside, so that it has a finished edge inside, and then this one's going to attach to the inside. We're going to line these up just like that. Okay, so let's really fold these in, these wings that we're going to attach our base on. I'm going to cut this little piece that's sticking out here off. And I'm going to cut at an angle, a V right here where this fold is. Bring these together. We're going to glue this right in here. So I'm going to get a little more angled here. Got to make sure this is covered in here. Put a little glue right there on this top piece. Okay. I'm going to put glue on this wing here. And we're going to bring this together and glue it to the inside. Now make sure these are lined up here on your corner. And grab, if you have some clothespins or clip, grab that. And let's get these attached here correctly, right there. Square it up. Okay, I'm going to let that dry and then work on this other piece. Here, this is going to be the outside. So I want to wrap this one, put some glue, wrap this edge, check it how I want it. It's going to meet over here, so we cut this angle out here. And I'm going to put glue on this side. Grab me another clip. Bring it to the inside. Line it up really good. And put a clip on it so it can dry. And if you have to flatten it, that's fine. I just want to make sure that it dries really good. So I'm going to let these dry before we put our bases in. On each one of these, you're going to lift up a little bit and put a little glue in the corner of each flap to form this corner in here. I don't know if I can really show you. Right along an angle of the bottom angle, because you want them all to lay the same way. So I put glue, and now I'm just going to press these in here, make these corners. So it should be pressed in like that, okay? Then take one of your bases. Now if you want to pattern yours before you put it in, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and put mine in now. So I'm just going to put glue on the little 1/2-inch hinges that are in the base, down and in here, right along here. Okay, put this in. Should be a tight fit. Get it all the way in. Very nice and squared in there, and burnish these hinges down in here along the edges. Just like that. So this is the base. I'm going to make sure it sticks down out here. If I don't have enough glue, I'm going to stick some more in here. And this might be where it would be easier to use score tape, but I'm going to really burnish from the inside here now. I think that'll go ahead and catch the rest of that. Okay. Now, of course, we will add pattern paper to cover all this on the bottom, and we'll put pattern paper inside. But for now, I'm ready to go ahead and put my pattern paper here on the outside, on this end that wasn't finished. So we could have done that one while it was flat, but this will still work. there. Make sure we're up. And then we're going to add the one on the inside here. It goes right in there. Pay attention to the direction of your pattern paper. Make sure you're not putting it in upside down. And burnish. So that's the base of it, and you see your little albums will fit in there. And then we'll finish our lid, and then we'll make a hinge or add a hinge. Okay, so I'm going to do this one the same way. I'm ready to glue these little corner flaps together. Oops, that goes that way. Okay, so just go ahead and do your corners. And let's take our base piece. We put glue on the 1/2 inch inside here. We're going to slip this down in there. Burnish, 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 burnish. Didn't have quite enough glue there to hold that, so add a little more. And I'm going to clamp that together again so that make sure that holds. So now this is the lid, and we need to go ahead and pattern. As soon as this dries, I will pattern the inside and the outside of it too. Then we'll be ready for the inside and adding any hinges that we need. And that's our little box. To create trim pieces for these corners, I cut 4 1-inch by 1-inch squares and folded them in half and inked them. And then I cut 4 1-inch by 2-inch rectangles, folded them in half the long ways, and inked them. So take the shorter ones, and you're going to glue these each on a corner of the box, of the lid, the top and the bottom. So I'm putting glue on both halves of this. And I'm just going to line it over the corners. Put that fold, and I did ink the fold also. I'm just going to line these up. It does extend over the paper, pattern paper, a little bit, but I want it to be even top to bottom on these corners like that. And I decided to use the wood-looking patterned paper from the collection. So we'll just line that fold line right on that corner of your box lid and your box base. Hold these up. Hopefully I'm staying in view of the camera here, so I'm going to put glue. So any way that you like to, if you want to use metal, if you have metal corners of some type, you could use that. I just like, when I can, I like to use the pattern paper on a lot of different things. So we got one more for the lid. Now, one thing about your lid I forgot to tell you, your seam part, Now that they're covered up, it doesn't really matter. You pick the side that you want to be the front. And inside, if you don't like, see when it's open back, this is the correct directions here on the front and the sides. But this back piece, see, these are upside down. If that doesn't bother you, then that's fine. If you want to recover this, you can to make the direction go the way you want it. Okay, so the corners are covered. That just adds more strength to those corners and finishes them off really nice. Okay, before I continue on with my little box, which I've added some pattern paper to the lid, I want to do a public service announcement, a PSA. See, I have a Band-Aid here. I cut the end of my finger. And I just want to tell you to be aware that if you're cutting really small, really close, these cutter bee scissors are very sharp. So, I've got a Band-Aid on for now. The bleeding has stopped, but I think I'll be getting some super glue, as told on the Scrapbookers Facebook group, social group, that I can put super glue on it. So, we're going to give that a try and see. It'll burn, I was told, but we'll just see how it works. So what I did is I cut my pattern paper for the top of my lid and the bottom of the box. I used the plaid, inked the edges, and I think my last segment I did the little corners and all the way around the box. Now I have not done anything on the inside. You don't want to do anything yet. You need to decide what you want as hinges. Now I went ahead and patterned mine without giving you a warning that if you were using metal hinges, you needed to put the hinges on with the brads before adding your pattern paper. I am not going to do that, so I am going to line up my box. Hope that most pieces are pretty square. And I am going to make my own hinges. So let me grab these. I have cut 3 1.5 by 1.5 chipboard squares. These two are already made. And then I cut a smaller square out of the pattern paper, which is, since these are 1.5 inch square, these are 1 3/8. Okay, so I take my stub punch, my chomper, and I stub punch each corner of the chipboard. Not chipboard, cardstock. Did I say chipboard earlier? It's made out of cardstock. Chipboard's too thick. So you also do the pattern paper the same way. And then you ink it if you want to. I did not on mine. Now you fold in half. You can score this if it makes it easier, since this is a 1.5. Half is 3/4. So you can just score it in half. And then you can fold it. And then this one I'm just going to go ahead and fold, the patterned one. Just line it all up and fold it in half. Go ahead and burnish those. Now you're going to want this attached. Go ahead and open this back up to the mountain side. And you're just going to glue this on here. So I'll take my glue, put glue on both halves. Not necessarily in that fold line, but on both halves of the pattern paper, okay? And then you're going to line up your fold line and center this the best you can from side to side. There's a little craft margin around it. And then burnish that down, and then fold it in half. This Band-Aid, I hope I can get rid of that. That thing's annoying, but I can't have it not on there because it'll bleed on my project. Okay, so this is our hinges. If you want to ink the fold line, you can go ahead and do that. Just like that. Okay, then we're going to grab the box. Put this mat back on here. Grab our box, line up the front and the back. Now if you have a big elastic band that you can use, that would be great. I don't know why my boxes never quite line up right. I think this is going to be the back. Okay, So let's do our top pieces first. So we're just going to put glue on 1/2. And on the bottom cut edge, I'm just going to glue this. I'm going to go in a ways, like 1/8 of an inch from the trim with this one. And you want that fold of the hinge just below, so I need to move it down a little bit, just below the edge of the box, okay? And then we'll go ahead and put the other end, one on the other end, so just 1/2. About the same distance, just below it. A little more. Okay, there we go. Make sure my distance is the same. And then we're going to put this other one right in the center. So again, just glue on the 1/2 of the hinge on the inner side. This one didn't have the pretty paper. And I'm just going to eyeball it. So that they're about equal distance apart. A little more this way. Make sure that fold is just below the edge. Whoops. Of your box. So I'm going to burnish these down. So there's the hinges on the lid. That one's a little crooked. Let's turn it. There we go. Okay. So I decided this would be the, I think, the back. So I'm going to look again. I'm going to open these up. So I'm going to peel this, flip it back, each one of them back some. Put glue on the part that's not attached yet. Line it up. That looks on the front. Hold that in place, and now let's get it all burnished down. And I'm going to let that dry pretty good. So, and you hear my air conditioner running because even though it's fall officially in North Texas, it is summer 2 or summer 3. I don't remember which one it is. 94 degrees was the high today. Very hot. Okay, so there's that. I'll let that dry, and then we're going to work on the handle while it does. So I have cut somewhere here 2 of these. I may have lost one. Yep, there it is. Okay, these are 6 inches long by 3/4 inches wide. There's 2 of them, and I did score each end. I've already done it, but you score the 6-inch piece at 1/2 inch and at 5.5 on each one. And then we're going to glue them together. This is to make our handle. Now I'm going to show you another option. I am not going with the metal handle. I want the paper one to kind of match my line. So I'm making these for me. So I'm going to sandwich these together. And I put the bump on one side and the indentation on the other. So let these dry. Now the option is, these are utility drawer handles that you can get at a hardware store. And if you want a metal handle, you can use these. They're great. They're real sturdy. You just throw the screws away that come with it and use a large brad. You would have to poke a hole through it. So I didn't. Then you would pattern the inside of your lid once the brads are in. But I'm going to use make my own here. So I cut some more of the wood paper that matches my trim on my box. This is also 6 inches long. I'm inking the edges some. And I'm also going to score this at a 1/2 inch. And I turned it so that I'm scoring on top of the pattern that I want to use, 1/2 inch on each end. So I think that's the way it's going to work better. Now this is cut 6 inches and just a little bit under the 3/4, so it is, ended up cutting it 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so now we're going to glue this on top. This makes it pretty strong, so just kind of make it all the way to the end because they're the same length, but scoot it so that you have a little bit of the craft on the top and the bottom. I'm also going to ink the edges of my craft paper for this handle. So this is where it's going to bend up. Each end, you want to bend it towards the patterned. You might want to let it dry a little bit. Mine came up a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to trim some off. When I fold it, it's a little bit longer here. Now we are going to touch this with brads. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and just kind of curl it underneath, just to give it a little curl from that score line on each end all the way to the other, so that it will have that curl to it. Now we need to just punch holes. I use the smaller punch, and I'm just going to center it within that 1/2 inch on the end. And both sides. Now then we're going to take the box. We're going to lay this where we want our handle. So the closer it in, the taller the handle. I'm going to get a pin to mark it. About centered. This plaid kind of helps to line it up. Now I can't use my punch, of course, so I'm going to have to use a piercing tool and just poke that hole right where I marked it. Work it around a little bit because I want the brads to be able to go in, but not too tight. Okay, let's see how they do. So I have these big brads. I use kind of the vintagey silver looking ones, so I'm going to stick that through. And because the hole's not too big, you may have to work with this here. Let me get, I have an awl, or I have a, just gotta get through it. There it is. This tool I got from the hardware store has a bigger tip, but you don't want it to go all the way. You just want to open that up a little bit bigger. There we go. To make it easier, so put the brad in. Now I'm going to put a little bit of glue here on this 1/2 inch and right around that brad. Okay, let's just secure that down. And we're going to do the same on the back side of this one. Grab a brad. Now we're going to open this up and open up the prongs and really press down on those. Because even though you know it's paper, made out of paper and chipboard, others who might be looking at it may think it's a really sturdy handle and actually try to lift it by the handle. Especially children, they don't know. So you want to try to get this as tight and as secure as you can, and that glue is going to help. I'm going to take some tape, score tape, and I am going to put a piece over both brads. Now you can also put some glue underneath those prongs. So I'm going to really press down on that. Another piece. And now, since we have that on, we are ready for our inside paper. Now what I want to do is make some pockets in here. So I already have one made, and I'm going to show you how to make one. So we don't need to pattern the whole thing. So I'm using the smaller piece. I want to use the fish here. So this piece that I cut is 4 3/8, 4 1/2 would be fine, whatever you have, by 7 3/8. So I'm going to ink this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and glue this in, and then in the next clip of this video, I will show you how to do the pockets. I'm going to put 2 in there. So let's peel this off. You know, I shouldn't have run it down that direction, so I'm going to see how much this covers up. Okay, it's going to cover it. That's good. Okay. If it didn't cover that tape, I was going to have to peel some of that tape off. So let's get the glue on it. And put this in. Going to be a little bit of the craft showing on the edges, and that's the way I initially wanted it. Not so much there. To bring it in close to me so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, now I can burnish it in. And then we'll be ready for the pockets that we're going to make. Okay. And you need to let this glue on your hinge. You may have to actually add some more glue after you've done decorating this part, because it kind of pulls back on it when you're putting stuff in and burnishing and stuff. It make the lid pull back a little bit, so you may have to add some more glue and let it really dry. So next we will make, I'll show you how to make a pocket. Okay, it's been a couple of days since I got to work on this project, and in the last video clip I shared that these scissors are very, very sharp, which they are, and I had cut myself here, and I had a band-aid on, and then I took it off that evening and put some super glue on it, and if you can see, you can barely tell, there's a little like crescent mark where the skin separated. It's still a little sore, but I'm able to work without a band-aid, and if I need to, I'll put some more super glue on it. So where we're at right now, we have our handle on, and we have the corner trims and our hinges here on the back, and we have all the outside patterned. And we're going to open this up, and when we ended in the last clip, I had put this fish paper, pattern paper, over the top of the inside of the lid, over the brads, so that they be secured. And next I'm going to show you how to make 2 pockets that will fit in here, so that you can tuck some little tags and things in there. Now these are accordion sided pockets, and I've made one, and hopefully I can remember how I made it, so that yeah, we can get this put into our album. I mean, not our album, but into our storage box or a little tackle box. So to make this, let's get my scoreboard. and I cut 2 pieces of the cardstock, and you want it to cut it at 6 3/4 by 3 1/2. Half inch will be a hinge, so this will be a 3-inch tall pocket. If you want it a little shorter, you can certainly adjust that. So you then want to score it. So on the 6 3/4 inch side, I scored at, this one's already been done, but I'm going to do it again, 1/2 inch, 1 1/2, turn it again, same length, 6 3/4, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2, and then turn it, and on one long side, so that would be your 3 1/2 in at the top, just make a 1/2 inch score mark. So that's for that pocket. Then we're going to do some trimming. As you can see here, when I open this one up, take those scissors, and we're going to, on this side where we have the little squares here where the 1/2 inch is, we're going to cut out these, let's see here. I can't even remember here. Lay this here on here. Yeah, that's what I thought. Cut the top 2 from the edge out. Just like that. So it'll be the same on the opposite side. The 2 squares that come off at the ends. This leaves you one little square, and we're going to angle cut that from the score line here to the corner or the edge of the other score line. So we're just going to cut those out with a little angle there. Then go ahead and burnish those fold lines. So I'm going to show you the one that I've already done. Of course, the bottom is going to be folded under like this. So we have that. And then you're going to fold down on both the inside ones, so it looks like that. So burnish those. This is folded down. Turn it over. And then we're going to fold it down so that this top one, so you fold the next one to the left side in, and the next one down. So you have accordion like this. So this one, you want it to be folded in and then down. So it's going to look like that. Okay. This one's already been done, so it's all ready. So then I measured the pattern paper that I'm going to need, and I want it to be 3 5/8 wide by 2 7/8 tall. I've already cut 2 pieces. I'm going to use the plaid. I'm going to ink the edges. Grab my chocolate ink here, and just quickly ink those edges where we cut it. And then I wanted it to kind of have the same direction, so like that. So I'm going to put this one over here. Grab my glue. So it's just easier to go ahead and pattern this front before we put the pocket in. We're in view of the camera here. Same on this other one. Button it down. Just looking to make sure that my lines are going the right in the same position here. Put this a little bit further over and up. Okay, that's better. And burnish it to make sure it stays down. So now we have this where they're kind of, when you lay them together, that line of the stripes goes the same way. So let's grab our tackle box or storage box, and what we're going to do is we're going to fold these in. I think I did. So I don't want glue under here, so I'm folding this so that it, right here where you can see the angle cuts, I'm going to put some glue on that. I'm going to bring them in and pinch them together. So if you want to use your clips to hold them, that's a good idea. I just have to grab mine because I cleaned my table off. So I'm going to pinch that in and grab a couple more clips for this other one. So I'm just putting the glue on that little triangle that is made from our angle cut. And I'm going to just pinch it down. So let's let those dry a little bit, and then we'll put them into our box. Okay, so the pockets are glued together, so remember this is the bottom where the fold is. I'm going to pinch them together, but we're going to put the glue on the right and the left on this 1/2 inch here at the back. Okay, so I'm going to position this, not completely, make sure this fits okay. Pretty close to the edge. Go ahead and get it in. And you want to burnish it down. So this fold here, you want your opening at the top. So you want to burnish. Make sure you're getting it stuck in there. And it's going to kind of pop open like a little box thing. Here you've got this fold in here. So you see it's like that. And you take the other one, and remember your folded bottom. And then we put the glue on this 1/2 inch and the other one. I'm going to bring those together with some glue here. And I'm going to slip it in so that it's open at the top all the way to the edge here, and then see how it fits right in with that one. So burnish that in. And then I'm going to reach in here, and if you have a shorter thing, it's a little hard with this edge here. So I'm going to reach in the best I can with this one. I thought I could use the shorter one, but I think the long one does better. And I'll make sure that it's sticking down. Especially as far as you can reach here in the top, you want to make sure. And then I'm going to press it down and rub it again down here in the bottom, so it pops up like that. So there's our little double pocket. We can put tags and things in there. So we're ready to pattern this bottom one, and I cut it 7 3/8 long by 5 1/4 tall here. I did already ink the edges, so I'm just ready to glue this in. So I'm using the plaid in the bottom. Okay, so this goes like this. You just fit it in. Okay. Burnish that in there. Make sure it fits down in the corners and all the way across. You want it burnished really good. And so then I can take one of my little books and put it inside like that, and then it closes up like that. So next I need to decide what I want to use for a closure. So I'll think of that, and then we'll do that in the next video clip. Okay, to make our closure piece, and it's going to be also trim on our little case, you need to cut 2 pieces of cardstock that are 3/4 inches wide by 8 1/2 inches long two pieces that are 3 1/4, not an inch, just under an inch, 3/4 inches wide like the others by 9 5/8 long. And then your pattern paper that you want to use, you want two that are, have it wrote on the back on one of these. Let's see here. 5/8 wide by 8 3/8. So that's those. And then you need two more that are 5/8 wide by 9 1/2. So I'm going to work on these two short ones first. These are your 8 1/2 inch long ones. And you also need two magnet sets. So you need two minus and two plus. So I have put the metal to the metal. So I have a plus here and a minus. And I'm going to peel off just one side. It doesn't matter as long as you keep them together. And for this is going to be the underside. I'm going to put a magnet, about 1/8 of an inch. Center it the best you can on this piece here. And I'm going to do the same on this other one. These are the short ones that we're working on. These are what are going to go on the lid part. So again, about the 1/8 of an inch and centered. Okay, those are on like that. Now I'm going to go ahead, keep them from attracting each other. Now I've got to try to slide them off. There we go. Keep them away from each other. You want the magnet side up. No, we want the magnet side down. Yes. And I've somehow got one of mine in the wrong place. So you should see, make these guys come apart. They got stuck together. You should see your paper like that. Okay, so you want these turned down, away from each other. Keep them away from each other. Take your pattern paper and you're going to put it on the top side. Okay, so use glue for that. So I'm just going to add the pattern paper. And I cut it so that you have a little margin on each end so you can see a little bit of the craft. So burnish that down. And on the other side as well. Okay, so we have that burnished. And I'm going to go ahead and glue these on to the top of these two long ones. Okay, so we have those patterned and we're ready to attach them to our case. Take your two shorter pieces that have the magnets and slide our magnet off. It's not attached yet. We're just going to save those. And we're going to put glue from about 1/4 of an inch above the magnet all the way on this strip. Okay, so grab your case, we'll do one at a time. This is where it opens in the front. So we're going to slip this in. Don't let it attach down. Well, I'm just going to do it this way. From the seam of the lid, let me move this where you can see it. From the seam of the lid here, I'm going to line this up and center it between these hinges. About right there. And then I'm going to stick this in. Remember, you've got glue on it, so keep it up off of your case until you're ready to press it down. You want to get it as straight as possible. You can use those plaids of your paper to help you burnish that down, especially on the top here where we curved it over. Okay, like that. And then we're going to attach it down here. So that magnet should be sticking over. I need to move mine just a little bit. Kind of got it too short. It's going to be okay. So it's not right on that edge. Got a little wet there. Coming up just a little bit. So not on the edge of the box, but on the edge of the pattern paper. So I was mistaken on that. I did not say that correctly. So I'm going to burnish that down. Because, and pull it pretty good, we want that magnet, we want it to attach, but we don't want it, we want it down a ways. So I may have to put more glue on mine and do a little inking back here and fix this piece of paper, but so I'm going to make sure it's coming off. Okay. I'm going to ink that just a tiny bit with the Copic marker where that paper is. Got a blue there. Okay. Well, mine's going to be real rustic right there. So I'm going to re-glue this. And I want it to come up a ways off of that. So not all the way down. And then bring it over. Stick it under. Line it up. Okay, for the second one, we're going to do the same thing. Put the glue starting here, and then just bring it on down. Now, the way mine are falling with the magnets, it might have been better to make this piece a little bit longer, like maybe a 1/4 of an inch longer or something. I don't know. So I'm going to stick this one in this way and just line it up. Not over the craft, not up to the line, but over the patterned paper pretty much. And then we're just going to bring it over, line it up, and we're going to look at it and see if we kind of match here on the front where they end. And they do, so I want to make sure they're lined up straight. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to burnish that down. Okay, now then, let's open our lid. So we see our two magnets right there. We're going to cover that with some patterned paper. But for now, we just want to concentrate on getting our other magnets onto the bottom of our box. So let's match these up. So you have them like that. Go ahead and peel your paper off. The second magnet. And we're going to close it. Press down right here and then gently lift up so it leaves that second magnet right there. So then we lift it up. So we're going to have to reinforce this with some, with other paper here. So this, kind of leave that up. So we have our magnets here. They're right on the edge, which is okay, because we're going to cover this with our strap. So I'm just going to make sure that it's fitting right. So it's very important that I get this covered. So I'm going to put glue on this, one of these strips. And I'm going to make sure I'm lining up on my magnet here to cover it. Get this straight on the bottom. Quickly wrap it around so we can see where it needs to stop to line up, to be pleasingly lined up with this piece up here. So we're just going to burnish this, and here, get all that stuck down best we can. And bring it on around and burnish this, especially right here. Now I may put a fold of paper here, I haven't decided yet. I'm going to get that burnished where that magnet is really well and let that dry good. So we're going to do the other side the same way. Okay, there's our magnet closure, so that's going to lift up right here. And we're going to make sure we lift it up, and we're going to put paper under here. Okay, so after I've got this down, I can still see a little bit of this magnet because it's really close. And what I did, if you need to do a fix, I didn't show it on camera because I was afraid it might not work, but I took this scrap of the same width of chipboard, cardstock, I'm sorry, and I glued it down right up against the cut edge of the pattern paper. Can't really see it. Glued it on top, wrapped it around, and brought it just to the inside. Oh, you can't see it very well. And then I inked it some, so that's to protect that magnet so it doesn't like show and stuff like that. Now on this lid where the magnets are still showing, I took scrap, the same as the cardstock, of the pattern paper, and I inked the edges, and I cut these to be the length from the inside edge of this lid and also the edge end of the cardstock there. So I'm just going to take glue, and I'm going to put some also on my magnet right here to make sure it's got good coverage and kind of around the edges of it. And on the back side of this pattern paper, so I want to glue it really good so we can hide that magnet. Kind of sandwich it in between the cardstock and the pattern paper, so it's between those two pieces. It's like that. So you've got a lot of glue, you're going to have to wipe it off, and then you're going to want to burnish this right in here to get that edge. Burnish it really well. Okay, wipe off any glue that comes out of the edge here. And you're going to want to make sure you let this dry. So I'm going to do the other side. Put some glue on my magnet down in there. And on this pattern paper piece on the back side. And then we're going to fit that in. And of course there's more glue on the edge than necessary, so we have to wipe all that off. But I wanted to make sure that we get really good coverage in there on that little section where those magnets are. You want to make sure that they're covered and that it sticks down. So just burnish, 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 and adjust your pieces and burnish that down. So I'm going to set that aside and let it dry, and then I'll close it up and show you. And this will be the end of the video for this fishing tackle box or storage case for your little travel Flip Folio. I want to thank you so very much for following along. So as you see, this just latches down with the magnets, and you can just push up or pull up. It should be strong enough for pulling up. like that. And we've got our little handle, so I'm going to decorate that. So again, thank you so very much for watching my tutorial video. Make sure that you check out countrycraftcreations.com for your crafting supplies. If you're not a member of the private group on Facebook, Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations, you might want to ask to join. Remember, there are questions that you must answer to be approved. If you don't answer those questions, you will not be approved to be a member of that group, where tutorials are shared. There's live videos from Tamara, the owner of Country Craft Creations. All the YouTube links or videos are shared there for these free tutorials for products that the designers use for their projects each month. So thank you again for watching, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.